We say no to these customers through a system. So there is a centralized design team that has no incentive of sales. Oftentimes our sales guy has taken an order, but later on we had discovered that it is not possible to install. We will happily refund and tell that customer we cannot install. Even those things, those customers have referred us. Who wanted to go solar, couldn't go solar, and they were very happy. We have 10 years of residential solar behind us. Then I think we'll see the true compounding of trust in this category. Time and again, companies and data has shown that incentives have little bearing on performance. It is actually the pride and joy of what you're doing that has the biggest impact on performance.
Struggling to hire sales leaders because most of them end up coming with toxic mentality. Well, genuinely, we've had to put our ops guys into sales.
Yeah. As you sit today and assess the business, what is the biggest risk in your mind to SolarSquare? Hi, I'm Romit. Welcome to another episode of Lunchbreak with Lightspeed. I'm so excited to host Shreya and Neeraj today. Shreya and Neeraj are founders of SolarSquare, one of the companies that we're absolutely honored to have invested in and to see their journey from the sidelines. Neeraj and Shreya, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Romit.
Yeah, and thank you for taking the time and coming and joining us. Guys, this is one of the most exciting businesses that I have personally observed from close quarters. And one of the reasons for that is the story that SolarSquare has had. Neeraj, you started this business 10 years ago. You've been in multiple forums where you've spoken about it. 10 years ago, you started this company as a bootstrapped solar installer for the commercial and industrial segment. I believe this company was in top 5 of that segment, before COVID hit. Had you continued, you could have perhaps even listed that company like some of your peers and counterparts are doing today. 4 years ago, you made the decision to shift from focusing on commercial and industrial to B2C, focusing on households. What caused that pivot, and was it just COVID or was it something else?
So actually, 10 years back, I actually wanted to do B2C, but the timing wasn't right. Very similar to telecom in the 90s, where an incoming call used to cost you 40 rupees per minute. But in 10 years, it was free. So we decided we'll earn our chops in the industry, and then when the tailwinds are right, we'll move to B2C. And around 2019, 2020, it just felt like the right time. In B2B, my customers would be like the Reliance and the Birlas. They didn't need us. You replace us with 10 other guys and the outcome is the same for the customer. Yeah. I think in B2C, when it's a 3 lakh rupee product and service, we believe that only 2 companies in India have created like category defining companies like Tanishq and Maruti, where middle class customers trust them with a 3 lakh rupee purchase. So very tough problem statement, but if you solve it, then you are really creating an impact. So a lot of opportunity in B2C, very tough, but that's what excited us.
That's excellent. And speaking of tailwind that you mentioned, there's one interesting stat that I picked up that 70% of added capacity in solar in 23 in Germany came from rooftop installations. And the reason for that is that wholesale gas prices increased 4x year over year because of the Russia-Ukraine war. That is in Germany. I was looking at data for India. Q3 2024, India residential rooftop market has grown by 84%. I don't know any other consumer-facing market that's growing at that rate. It's perhaps even faster than quick commerce. What has happened in 2024?
I think 2024 has been an inflectionary year in the residential solar market. In 2020, when we started the residential solar business, we always knew that solar will be ubiquitous, and it is a consumer category which, like color television, एक घर में आएगा, हर घर में आएगा, एक घर solar लेगा, हर घर solar लेगा. So we knew it will be ubiquitous someday. We just could not fathom the pace of acceleration that we've experienced in 2024. So quick statistic, till 2023, 7 lakh homes in India had gone solar in the history of India. In 2024 alone, almost 8 lakh homes have gone solar in India. So that has been the pace of acceleration. In 2025, I think 15 odd lakh homes will again, new homes will add solar in India. So there has been a definite pace of acceleration. It has been long due. And I think there are a few ducks that have lined up. I don't think it has happened overnight. I think it has been, the ducks have been lining up over the years, but the acceleration that we see feels very overnight. I think the first thing is India has a very stable policy climate here. We're the first country in the world to make net metering a legal right. So families can put up solar, trade power with the grid during the day, take it back during the night. The economics looks great. The cost of electricity has been going up with inflation, with shortage of coal. We all know the world only has a few more decades of coal left. So electricity keeps getting expensive. Solar with manufacturing scale, more adoption, keeps getting cheaper. So the payback for a homeowner, if you are a middle class homeowner in Indore, you look to install solar, or you are a middle class homeowner in Bangalore, you look to install solar, anywhere between 4 to 5 years, you get your payback. And it gives you 25 years of free electricity. So economics is usually the biggest change driver. And here, yes, solar is sustainable, but the fact that it's also the cheapest source of power for a family has led to, that economics has aligned. So that's the second duct to align. The third duct to align is just awareness. So 2024 is when our Prime Minister made residential solar like a household dinner table conversation. So he has been a big advocate of residential solar. He's gone out declaring that 1 crore homes in India will go solar in the next 3 years. Then we've announced a massive budget. About 75,000 crores of subsidy budget has also been announced for Indian households to go solar. So of course that has led to more chatter and a sense of urgency amongst consumers.
Yeah.
If you look at the Google searches for rooftop solar for homes, in the month of February, when Prime Minister announced that 1 crore homes will go solar and all of this, I think the trends just go up like 4x overnight. The Google searches have gone. So that's how the awareness is just accelerated. And fourth is the easy availability of financing. Yeah. So till 2022, nobody was willing to give loan to a consumer which wanted to buy solar. You could get a loan for a wedding in the family, you could get a loan for your children's education, you could get a loan for a car, but not to go solar. We were the first company to convince some edtech lenders to start lending in this category. Yeah. And then, slowly, 1 or 2 NBFCs came up. But now every public sector bank is also willing to lend. So unlocking of financing is also the fourth duct to line up. And I think it's yet to fully play out. But I think the next 3 years is going to be, I think we're just looking at the beginning of the hockey stick. The next 3 years are going to, the real hockey stick is yet to play out.
Yeah, we certainly hope, that happens for you and for ourselves as well. The scale is, of course, impressive. I believe if I get this right, you're in perhaps the top 10 home solar installers globally, fastest growing, the leader in India, 1,200 plus homes a month. But that's all headline statistics. What I was doing is that I was just going through the reviews that you have. You rated, I believe, 4.6, 4.7 on Google with hundreds and thousands of reviews. So, of course, the customer NPS is high, which I know that you also track very effectively. And Shreya, you have spoken on multiple forums about SolarSquare being a full stack company. But take us through what a full stack company means so that you get a happy customer review like this. What has happened from the front end to the back end for somebody to write a 5-star review like this?
I think everybody knew that the residential solar market will explode, and everybody, a lot of large corporates in India, even internationally, a lot of brands have been created in the residential solar category. Everybody tried to come at it from an easy angle. So some in the US and Germany said, we'll finance it because 10 saal ka loan denge, lease karenge to customer solar lega, and that will be our right to win. Some in India have said, we'll build a massive distribution, we'll manufacture and then we'll sell via dealers and distributors to the last mile, and we'll capitalize on this category. When we looked at the residential solar market, we just looked at it from our own parents' perspective, from an average middle class consumer's perspective. And we said that it is the third largest purchase of their life.
Yes.
After their home and their children's education, this is the third largest purchase. 70% of them don't even own a car. So they're two-wheeler families. For them, 2.5 lakhs, 3 lakh rupees to be invested in solar, which is supposed to have a 2 decades of life, right? Once you install it, it has a 25 years life. So we said there has to be a complete full stack play that controls the experience and the value chain. If you solve one part of it, you probably can build a business and get to some scale. But true customer love and true profit pools you can't tap into. So we said we'll build this as a full stack business. Residential solar was always got second-hand treatment. There were a lot of mom-and-pop installers whose primary business was doing commercial solar. They said residential, महीने में 2 घर मिल गया कर लेंगे, महीने में 4 घर मिल गया कर लेंगे. Very opportunistic. Yes. All the largest manufacturers designed their distribution network for against commercial solar. Residential, उनके dealer को मिल गया तो वो कर लेंगे. And the whole category had this very B2B vibe. Like nobody built customer education for a retail customer. Nobody spoke to this customer like in easy bhasha, right? Everybody would say, sir, solar plant lagana hai ghar pe. And it starts from there, right? Like when a factory is buying this, technically it is a power plant. When you're buying a power plant for your factory, you're used to investing in capex. It's a very hardware sort of a purchase. But for a family, it is basically 20 years of peace of mind. I will forever change the way me and my family consume electricity, right? Mostly when families go solar, we often, our sales guys get pictures with the families when they book their order with us. We often see a little child there. And we look at it and they say that, by the time this child will have his child, till then, this solar will actually be giving electricity to this family. So it's a big change in lifestyle. It's a big moment in the life to make that decision, requires a lot of education, requires a lot of customer empathy. So I do believe that is one thing that we've been very obsessed with, to do it in a way that it appeals to, makes it feel easy to a normal family, to a normal consumer. And also, like, education has been a large part of it. Even how we sell. Our sales guys are called solar consultants. They are taught to first consult and educate the family about solar, not to sell. If you attend a sales consultation of SolarSquare, 30 minutes, there is actually only education. In the last 30 minutes is when the selling of SolarSquare starts to happen. So I think that is where, we've personally, both of us have been very passionate about changing the complete look and feel of this industry, right? How we talk, how we communicate with customer, how we sell, how we engage with the customer, what type of after sales we give the customer. So yeah, I think that's hopefully people are liking what we've designed in this customer journey.
Of course they are. And the very interesting thing that I picked up from that answer is that for long, if you ask somebody to imagine a solar installation, you would imagine utility scale solar, like, impersonal, almost robotic, mechanic in a sense, set up over large hectares of land. But what you're describing is that there is an emotional connection that people have with the rooftop solar that they install in their house. They're getting photos of their children clicked along with it, right? That's a paradigm shift in terms of relationship with, what you think about when you think solar. I think that's so interesting. One thing, Neeraj, of course, that's great about you, that I've, in the time I've interacted with you, is that you always have a quotable quote. One of the good ones that you have said, which I heard once, is that customer service is not a department, it's the company. Am I quoting that correctly? Yeah. Great quote, by the way. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean in practice for you at SolarSquare?
I think, so we are a service business, and I think to an extent, every service business is in a hospitality business. And we are shooting this here today in Taj. Anybody you speak to, interact with, irrespective of their designation, their department, they're in your service. And that does have a big impact. Very small example, if you ask somebody in a Taj, where is the washroom?
Yeah.
They will not tell you, they will not point you in that direction. They will walk with you. That shows that empathy. Imagine this, on the other side, dealing with some loan company or some telecom company, and you're stuck on their call center. Very bad experience. You feel you've been fleeced. If you try to cancel a subscription, and I'd like to actually state a company that we've been inspired with, Off Business, we were customers of theirs. When we wanted to exit that relationship, they probably gave us better customer experience than when we were onboarded. And if ever there's a chance to work with them again, we'll definitely do that. And if you want to build long-term relationships, everybody that you are interacting with should give you that delight.
Yeah.
So that's something that we just aspire for, and miles to go in that journey. But this is what we've, good experience probably just makes the customer feel valued, rather than treated like a source of revenue or profit.
Yeah, not just a transaction, you're trying to build a relationship. Give me a small example of that. Like, how does that play out? Like one example. I know you have so many things that you've done, but yeah.
So, I think when we lose an order, right, but the customer has given us an advance, how difficult is it for the customer to get that advance back? And every company makes it very difficult. So did we, unknowingly. But there is no point in retaining that customer or getting that, bad ill feelings towards you. So teaching your sales team also that your sales team, that they're losing revenue, it's okay. Let that money go out. No need to hold on to that order. Teaching a finance team to build processes that this can be processed very quickly. Now it costs a lot to service a middle class customer in a small city. It is not digital. You have to put up people. It came at a cost of unit economics and our cost structure. But I think if we are treating customers for that value, for that trust, they are actually reciprocating that with just being willing to pay a better price for the service. It was counterintuitive for investors, for our team. But now when you give it enough time for that relationship to develop, that is the full stack approach that we spoke about. Why is nobody else doing it? It doesn't make sense on paper. And it doesn't make sense if you look at a 3-year relationship or a 6-month time frame. But over a longer time period, it then starts making sense. Your referrals start kicking in. All metrics start looking better if you give it time. That approach.
And I think, it plays out in so many forms and shapes, right? I think it is the intent to just do right by the customer. I remember this doctor from Indore once called me. She was a gynec surgeon, super busy. And she had taken 2-3 sales, consultations from some local solar companies. Because she had a big hospital. She was a very well-to-do doctor. She and her son were the only 2 people living in the house. 2 people sold her 10 kilowatts of solar. And then our sales guy reached that customer's home. Somebody in the neighborhood said, SolarSquare se kyun nahi baat kari, aapne baat kariye. And then this sales guy came to her, went to her home, and he said, ma'am, you don't need 10 kilowatt, you only need 4 kilowatts. So here is our quotation for a 4 kilowatt solar. And she was so amazed and impressed that she was so busy that she would have just given that, advance 1 lakh rupees and booked 10 kilowatt. And she had told that I have 10 kilowatt quotation. So she was, she did not know that she didn't need that. And she was a super busy professional, right? And the fact that our sales guy actually told her the right thing, she was so happy. She later on called me for something, I remember, and at that time she chose to mention this to me. That by the way, that, I really appreciated that your sales guy didn't try to sell me the wrong thing. In fact, we get that so many times from customers, we don't convert. Solar has to be installed in a shadow-free area. India is congested constructions. You will always find 5% homes where there is too much shadow. To the extent that solar is just not viable. Anywhere you put solar on that roof, it will have 10%, 20% of the time under shadow. 1, it will produce less. 2, it is also a safety risk because it starts heating up. There's potential risk of fire getting started there in 3 to 4 years time. Now, we say no to these customers through a system. So there is a centralized design team that has no incentive of sales. That team is the final authority on whether you can sell solar to this customer or not. Oftentimes our sales guy has taken an order, but later on we had discovered that it is not possible to install. We will happily refund and tell that customer we cannot install. Even those things, those customers have referred us. Who wanted to go solar, couldn't go solar, and they were very happy. So I think it plays into so many design choices at every step of the way. And then I think it has now become a part of that culture and mindset, because that's what we talk about in our town halls. That's what our leadership team talks about. And I just hope that it keeps, this culture we are able to retain and nurture it further.
It's cultural values plus design incentives, right? Like done very well. And that point around referral is true, because when we were doing our diligence on SolarSquare at the time of investment, when we spoke with customers, they spoke about the high quality of materials of installation they had, and they even had, I told my sister to also use them, but she did not listen to me, and now look at her installation is falling apart. She should have listened to me. This is a good company. So yeah, it's just like unusual and interesting to hear, that kind of customer ownership.
I'll just take 1 minute to add to what Shreya also mentioned, right? So the team which decides the revenue, they have no incentive linked to that revenue. Even my sales team, irrespective of what revenue they generate, be it a 10 kilowatt or a 4 kilowatt, their incentive is the same. So those design choices are very counterintuitive. If we were to hire a consultant or just an analytically smart person, they would say, okay, to get better revenue, incentivize the sales guy with more benefit if they get to more revenue. We know culturally it will break the fabric. So again, very counterintuitive choices, but I think just having the courage to stick with them over time is going to be very important for us.
Who inspired those design choices for you?
I think some part came from our team also. Genuinely, I think every good experience that you come across, can we learn from this? What can we do here? I actually, a few colleagues that come to mind who guided this culture. I think Shreya and our sales head Anshuman actually said, it is not the kilowatt or the size of the solar. Every home, treat every home and every customer with the same dignity. So yeah, holds us in good stead today.
Kudos. So refreshing to hear that. And there's one thing that always stood out to me in the diligence when we were looking at you. You have two offerings, SolarSquare Blue and SolarSquare Good Zero. Blue is the base offering and Good Zero is the premium offering. In Good Zero, if the savings from electricity do not match what you promised, you actually refund the difference. I believe it's the first company to do that. More interestingly for us, Good Zero was priced 10% at a premium compared to your largest competitors, which are some of the established names in the industry. Yet you have market leadership in most of these, almost all the micro markets you're in, and 95% of your customers actually choose the premium offering. What does that tell you about your customer, the Indian middle class, that they trust a D2C brand, a new brand with a premium and the third largest purchase of their lifetime over established competitors who've been around for hundreds of years?
I think we don't give enough credit to the average Indian consumer. I think they respect their time, they respect hassle-free service. They are more discerning than ever. And so SolarSquare Good Zero is basically a package where you get 5 years of after sales and 5 years of guaranteed savings from solar. So in a way, it's like it's the first in India where you're not just SolarSquare is not just seen as a solar installer, but the operator of solar, where we take full responsibility of that solar for 5 years.
Yes.
Why 5 years? Because you break even in 5 years. Now 95% of our customers choose the Good Zero package, and I guess my the simple answer to that is we are a country obsessed with mileage, yaar. So kitna deti hai, right? So everybody cares about kitna deti hai. And if you're buying solar today, if you're guaranteed kitni bijli deti hai, bijli kam bani to SolarSquare will pay me back the difference. It effectively becomes like a fixed deposit, and that is powerful, right? So the consumers are smart, they are rational, they understand that it is 10% more expensive, but it also will guarantee them zero breakdowns, it will guarantee them high power production with and without maintenance. Between SolarSquare Blue and Good Zero, the power production difference itself will be 30%.
Correct.
Because if you don't maintain your solar for 6 months, we've actually done research. 2 neighbors, one maintained, one not maintained, and we've seen power production goes down by 30% in just 6 months. 2 to 3 years later, you never know how much of the difference can pan out, because your panel starts degrading, the rate of degradation increases, a lot of hotspots, snail trails, 1,000 issues come up in your rooftop solar, right? So, so I think it's also a very rational, way to sell to the customer. You pay a little bit extra today, but you get so much more. The total cost of ownership is actually lowest when you buy solar with savings guarantee, right? Because there's no future repair, there's no after sales hassle you have to pay, there's no risk of underperformance, all of that. So that is how we tried to design it, and we actually thought that maybe 60-70% customers will choose it. So we've ourselves been surprised that more than 90% end up choosing it.
See, I think again came down to designing incentives, right? So with the customer, any consumer durable that you buy, right? You get tired, you get a 1-year warranty. On day 366, your fridge or your washing machine, something breaks down, you have to chase them, and then you feel fleeced. Versus, for 5 years, we're guaranteeing performance, we're guaranteeing repairs and replacement at our cost. Now, the customer will not chase us. We actually end up chasing customers, sir, हमें घर पर आना है, ठीक करना है, plant में कुछ issue है, solar system में कुछ issue है. My team's incentives are now aligned to good customer experience. The customer's outcome is now linked to our outcome. If the customer doesn't make savings, we don't make any money. So designing that win-win comes at a risk. I think very few investors will back such things. They have to also understand subject. It is not plain vanilla. So just I think getting people around the table who understand those incentives correctly, a big part.
Thank you for making us look good as investors. We understand it, but I will
You're paying me for that, right?
But I will push you more there, Shreya, Neeraj. I understand completely that if you offer 5 years of savings, customers will make that choice that, hey, I'm guaranteed savings here versus a competition. But you're also a new company. How does a customer trust you that you will be here after 2 years?
Yeah. So that's where the SolarSquare legacy comes around. So the company started in 2015. This is our 10-year anniversary, and 10th year, so 10 years in the making. Most of our competition is fly-by-night operators who basically, and by the way, the shelf life of solar companies is as low as restaurants. Matlab 2-3 saal mein companies are churning out. And like I said, a customer is trusting you for 20 years of after sales, 25 years, 2+ decades, right? And so this is that rare product category where your that trust bar is that high, like Neeraj said, right? Tanishq and Maruti, two companies that sell you products worth that much, right? And those brands have also taken years to build that trust, build that legacy, for the customer to know कि ये दुकान यहीं है, यहीं रहेगी. I can come back and sell my jewelry 20 years later if I ever, need to. And they'll pay me back the full value. So I think that level of trust, of course, takes time. The fact that SolarSquare has been around for 10 years, it's a huge part of customer trust. And I think the intention, we are now four years into residential solar. The word of mouth, from customers in the city who we installed in 2021, they still continue to get after sales service. And a lot of customers who went, a lot of local companies have even, by the way, made fake promises that you will get 5 years of service because SolarSquare is selling it, so it's very easy, others will start copying it.
Yeah.
And who's holding them accountable, right? You will not go to Twitter for a mom and pop installer, right? They don't care. They'll probably be running, I was at a solar industry forum recently where there was a gentleman and he said कि मेरी solar company ने 4 साल पहले लिया था, अभी वो 2 साल पहले catering business में जा चुकी है. So who do you call? He does not care about your word, your word of mouth or your referral or what you feel about him.
Yeah.
So I think, the fact that we've been around for 10 years is a huge trust-inducing point for customers.
Yeah.
And then word of mouth matters, and then I think this will only compound. I think that trust, once we have 10 years of residential solar behind us, then I think we'll see the true compounding of trust in this category.
Yeah, I would add one more thing. It's from the customer calls and the way you're describing it as well. It's the experience that your customers have with your sales representatives, say solar consultants. How do you transfer the missionary zeal that both of you have as founders to down at the solar consultant Salesforce level?
I think a team is watching you every day. I think if SolarSquare would reduce quality to improve margin by 0.5%, I think I'll have 100 resignations the same day. And I think just hiring people with that DNA, I think is the first step. But at every small step, we make so many mistakes. But then we show up to fix them ourselves. We don't wait for our customer to prompt that. And I think that when people see in action, talk is cheap, right? But when our teams see that in action again and again, a new cohort of team members, be it sales or other teams who come in, within 6 months to a year, when they see that, okay, jo training mein bola tha, actually kar rahe hain, there is disbelief on day one. Every company says they will live up to their word. And when they see the first mistake happen, they said, okay, we were expecting it to be just a marketing thing. But it takes a lot of effort to constantly feel like you are under scrutiny. Because every WhatsApp message that you are sending, people are watching on that group. So I think unless until you want to give, if you are not consistent with the value system,
like you to live that value
you have
system.
to live it. Personally, as a team, I think our biggest rate limiter to grow is finding people and instilling that culture. It's a struggle to find those people, but most people have a good DNA. I think you find 10 good people, the next 100 actually just start copying that behavior. So
and I think our sales guys are I think of them as truly superheroes in this story. They stick by it. They stick by an incentive program that is so strict. They stick by educating customers on the right thing, right? It's a tough job to sign up to. It's very easy to go work at a solar company which is just selling cheap, and it's so easy to make incentives, to make sales, but to truly sell the right thing, which requires you to tell the truth when everybody else is not telling the truth, right? There's a lot of ullu banaying in India. We were the first company to tell solar needs maintenance. So many customers have been sold solar by saying, isko to maintenance lagti nahi hai sir, pani maar lena aap, right? When a Reliance is going solar, they are asking us to do maintenance and give them a performance guarantee. If it was as easy as pani maar lena, then why are they spending money on all of this, right? So to educate people when you have to tell them the truth, for example, like whole truth, right? Like it's just telling the truth as it is. Look at the packaging, look at the way they disclose their ingredients. Customers really appreciate that, but it is a tough sales job, right? So our sales guys are truly the heroes who first understand the product, who sell it accordingly. We tell them two things in the sales training. Number one, आपके पापा चाचा को सोलर लेना होगा, एंड दैट डे इफ यू फील SolarSquare आप नहीं recommend करोगे, do not work here. If you do not believe in this product, the worst thing you can do is sell something you don't believe in.
Yeah, I love
so
that.
I think the first thing is to have that own belief that if your dad wanted to go solar, you'll tell him, Papa kuch mat socho, SolarSquare lo, and we tell them it takes 2 months to get there. So go through our training, go see a few local solar installations, go see a SolarSquare installation, see how your first few customers are treated by the company in terms of customer experience. In 2 to 3 months, if the answer from your heart is not that SolarSquare is actually truly the best product, best service out there, then don't work here. So I think that is one thing we tell them. I think the other thing also is that in terms of how the whole incentive design is, right? Like, for example, there's this great thing I read, by the way, recently, very counterintuitive, which says that time and again companies and data has shown that incentives have little bearing on performance. Actually, in most companies, they keep tweaking it, keep trying it, and they have little bearing on performance. It is actually the pride and joy of what you're doing that has the biggest impact on performance. So I believe it is the pride of selling SolarSquare and doing something that is, by the way, good for the planet. A lot of our, when a sales guy completes 100 orders, we give him like this beautiful trophy. It's called the SolarSquare Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
There are few companies in the country that have helped 100 people go solar. And here there is this one guy who is 25 years in age, who's helped 100 families switch to solar. It's actually equivalent to planting thousands of trees.
Yeah.
It's equivalent to saving 2.5 lives.
Yeah, that's the amount of oxygen,
Yeah.
and carbon offset that you're helping with, right? So, so that is that pride, and I personally have felt that it is that joy, that pride in the product. Then of course you have to design incentives and everything else around it. But I think that is where you can't have a great sales team if they're not proud of what they're selling. So I think that is something that we've also learned over the years.
Very honestly, I'll make this a hiring pitch also. We are struggling to hire sales leaders because most of them end up coming with toxic mentality, very genuinely. We've had to put our ops guys into sales. But genuinely, that's a big problem in terms of, misaligned incentives are just chasing numbers. But I think the courage to just stick by what you believe in.
Yeah, just living that value and then following that up with incentives. Incredible. The company is obviously on a good trajectory. You two are clearly, of course, very passionate about it, and that's something we love in the both of you as well. As you sit today and assess the business, what is the biggest risk in your mind to SolarSquare?
I think the courage to do the right thing. Like I said, we make a lot of mistakes, be it in quality, customer experience. I think we want to be here for a very long time, and business models will change, businesses will change, definitely people will change. But yeah, I think if you start compromising slightly, not even going to a level of fraud, when the DNA starts getting slightly diluted, I think I'll give an example. Airline industry, if somebody acknowledges that I made this mistake, they are celebrated. Because in aviation, while it is the riskiest form of travel, they have the least accidents. It is because culturally, just globally, they believe that, we will encourage people sharing their mistakes and learning from that. That takes courage as an industry, as a team, as an individual. But now just recently, because there's been boom in the sector, don't you hear a lot of planes crashing? It just affects world travel. So many economies get affected by it. Yeah. So somewhere it is a cultural issue, right? A technical problem people can solve. Yeah. How do you solve a cultural issue? So tomorrow we'll go public, we'll be 10 times the size. Maybe we'll have to will we have the courage or will we hide? And it is painful to own up, go in front of media, talk to investors, talk to your team. Finding leaders, finding people who can tolerate that. It's not going to be easy. Just because you own up, nobody's going to celebrate that. But having the strength of character, doesn't matter. You are B2C, B2B, solar, something else. Do the right thing.
Yeah. Thank you for that rawness and honesty. Really appreciate it.
So I completely agree with what Neeraj said. I'd just like to add one more thing. I think the opportunity of residential solar in India is massive.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's fastest growing, consumer market. It's one of the fastest growing residential solar markets in the world.
Yeah.
We're the number one company in the world's fastest growing residential solar market. And I think we've barely done anything. We are not even 1% done. So I think the ability of us as founders and our leadership team to make that orbit change, the fundamental, it is toughest to reinvent when things are going fine, but you have to, as a company, every 12 to 18 months, founders are reinventing themselves, the leadership team is reinventing themselves, having that growth mindset, not getting comfortable with how you lead, how you're building, but to constantly retool. I think it's not easy. It is the most painful, experience to go through again and again every 12 to 18 months. And I think all of us founders, as well as our leadership team, we all have to go through that many times over in the next 5 years. And I think that will be one of the biggest. Our own execution, our own ability to grow as leaders will be the biggest risk in the next 5 years.
While keeping the values of SolarSquare alive. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the future. Lithium prices have crashed by 20% last year. Energy storage is inevitable. It's already happening at utility scale solar. I believe, and the industry believes that it's about time that it'll start catching on at the household level as well.
Yeah.
This opens up a lot of interesting opportunities for SolarSquare. Shreya, talk a little bit about it. I know you've spoken about decentralized power trading, but break it down a little bit. What opportunity does that present for SolarSquare?
Sure. I think this is such a fast evolving industry, right? How electricity is consumed, produced, traded, everything is changing, and we're building a business on top of a very fast evolving ecosystem, and that's not just for India. Everywhere in the world, the electricity market is evolving, right? Power is becoming more decentralized as our grid infrastructure is archaic and failing. While it is archaic infrastructure, it is super important piece of the electricity puzzle, right? Even solar cannot operate without grid connectivity, right? So how do you give relief to the grid? How do you manage grid flexibility and response? Because look at Australia, I mean, they have this issue where every day during peak afternoon, 12 o'clock, there is so much power pushed into the grid.
Correct.
And then at sunset, all of the solar shuts down. Yeah. So how do you manage demand, supply, grid flexibility? So I think flexibility is a huge theme that is emerging. And somebody said this really nicely, that there are power producers who are making thermal, hydro, solar power. Then there is the DISCOM, which is transmitting and selling this power. Then there is the consumer. Now this consumer is becoming a producer because he has his own rooftop solar system through which he's producing power. Then there's the government. Then there is import of raw material of coal and solar. This is the most complicated coordination problem of our generation, right? And I think this is Sujit from UEI who said that it's the most complicated problem, coordination problem of our generation. So I think solar, rooftop solar, residential solar will play a huge role here in being responsive and adapting to the entire ecosystem. And I think here batteries will play a huge role. So there'll be time of day tariff that will come in India. Power will be cheaper during sunshine hours because there'll be excess of it. It'll be expensive during the evening. So batteries will come into play. Home energy monitoring and demand management will come into play. Factories already do that, right? Yes. They will run their machines depending on cheap electricity, expensive electricity. Homes are not used to have dynamic prices. And homes, it's not possible for families to plan washing machine kab chalani hai, AC kab chalana hai. So they require, these IoT solutions and home energy monitoring solutions that will allow them to manage their own demand and supply. So we see ourselves as building the home energy brand of Future India. Everything energy related that the future home of India will need, we want to build a brand there. It will start with solar. Yeah. It first starts with them becoming producers of power, then it starts with them storing their own power, then it starts with them intelligently managing consumption, depending on grid flexibility, grid tariff, and of course then it will come to them having EVs in their home and hence charging their EVs with solar, because it's truly only clean when you use solar power for your EV, not when you use coal electricity instead of diesel. Yeah. The EV is not clean if you power it with coal electricity. So I think it's this full ecosystem that is the opportunity that will arise for us, which is why also this huge focus on customer service. If we do right on the first purchase, the consumer will hopefully come back to us for battery.
You win
and
the trust to do other things.
to do all the other things over the next decade with the customer's home.
Yeah, what an exciting vision, because it's truly the, among the biggest transitions that we'll see in our lifetime.
Yeah.
The grid going cleaner, us moving from diesel and petrol vehicles to EVs, and the dominance of battery storage in our homes, which allows so many new applications and interesting permutation and combinations to emerge in how we consume electricity from the grid. I think that's what truly makes SolarSquare exciting. It's not what you guys are doing today, but what it also enables in the future. I want to end with this question. I've been very lucky to meet your very beautiful 4-year-old daughter. And Shreya, you tell me that she is even more passionate about environment than both of you are. And I mean, my belief is that kids truly imbibe values from their parents, and it's clear that this is something that she's gotten from the both of you. Outside of, let's say, building the largest home solar energy company in the world, what is it that truly motivates you?
A very, very sentimental thing, but I grew up on the stories of Shivaji, Gandhiji, both were battles for independence. I was just searching for mine. I think, very long battle to fight against climate change. So, want to leave a better world for her. That's pretty much it. It's been consistent for the last 10 years at least.
Yeah. No, I think both Neeraj and I are big patriots. So I think both of us, we are college sweethearts. We bonded over the fact that desh ke liye kuch karna hai, right? Naive 19, 20-year-olds. And I think our daughter is also, grown up like that. She's very passionate about it. Whenever she'll see a flag, she'll be upset if we don't salute it, right? Bombay airport pe, Delhi airport pe, so, we always have to stand and salute at the flag. So I think she'll probably be 2 times more passionate about India as well, I hope, as well as about, climate consciousness. So I think the biggest, to me, the biggest luxury is, the ability to see nature and feel nature. I've grown up with it. I come from a small town of Bhopal. The ability to see a Bengal tiger in Madhya Pradesh or to see a jaguar in South America, and I dread a future where our children or their children will not be able to see all of this, where there'll be, and even bigger problems than that is just the not having access to clean air, right, and having lung issues as our children grow up. So I think for me it just comes from that place. I've always been very passionate. I mean, there's this wildlife photographer that I absolutely love called Paul Nicklin, and he says this: you will protect what you see. And he says that is why I go into the deep sea and the Arctic, and I bring these powerful images of what is life here and how those creatures are suffering, or how the corals are bleaching, or how the shark and the whale are suffering and dying. So I think to me that has just it all just comes from there. I truly believe that there is no luxury bigger than just this nature that we take so much for granted, and I would just want my daughter and her daughter to be able to see it.
Just want to state, ridiculously grateful to our team who's also equally passionate about these things. That just allows us, it just makes it easy to execute.
Yeah. No, it's a special group of people and a special company. Shreya and Neeraj, thank you so much for taking the time.